I was just meeting with yesterday my friend Saad. First, I used to live with him, then he turned into one of the first clients of Jakt, site leader, recently sold his company, and now he's moving on to the next thing. That's something to always think about, at least for me. It's like, is this where I want to spend my time? I'd be lying if I said I haven't questioned doing something else before. I wouldn't say I've ever thought about necessarily quitting. It's never like a quit. Okay, I'm gonna he was talking about, him and I were like, some people just like quit and then like sit on the sideline for like months and like, or something will happen, they'll fail and just sit on the sideline. Like, there's a difference though. To me, it's you either, like, if I was to do something else, I'm not saying I am, but if I was, it's not that I would quit Jakt and do nothing. It's I would quit to do something else. Stopping being an entrepreneur, I'll never stop that. It's just, where do you want to spend your time? And as of now, I have no intention of closing Jakt, so don't want to get that twisted.
I was in the bando a long time. Need to get the Lambo and drive. I was in the lab, you were on my mind, but all I really do is just go. I was in the bando a long time. Need to get the Lambo and drive. I was in the lab, you were on my mind, but all I really do is just grind. I had to get it on my own.
So first off, let's never use the term junior designer.
Okay.
Designer, period.
Okay.
That opens up questions to different rates.
Okay,
Are they not experienced? Blah blah blah. Questions we don't want to have to answer.
Okay.
Lead is fine though. And then if they ask about experience level, for now, same experience. It's just one person's taking the lead, which is Steph.
Okay.
Right, if they
That's
answer,
fine.
right? It's just a positioning thing.
Gotcha.
Right?
How's it going? Good, good.
Not too bad.
Is he here? I actually think we should go full force and be like, look, we're actually going to be partners to you guys, whoever it is. And maybe we start with a month or 2 months or whatever, but then we sign like longer term agreements with people. Because like, this like week to week, month to month stuff is difficult for us.
So the reason that I was saying 3 months originally, just so you know, is that I was like, we have a roadmap. We will get you to here in 3 months. Rather than saying like, we're gonna be your team forever, because it's like not practical that we're their team forever.
I think there's an element of involvement for continuity for them. Plus, if we're actually adding value on the product and design end, and not just a work for hire, it would be smart for them as long as the economics work. And that's where, can we actually make the economics work such that there's no longer, oh wow, this is way expensive, I have to bring it in-house, versus like, oh, it's a little bit more, but it's worth it because you guys are fucking good. I guess this is in between, which makes it just difficult from a sales perspective and keeping the business going perspective of like this in between where it's like, hey, we have this model where we have this 3 to 6 month churn. Do we actually try and adjust that, or do we say, hey, that's just part of it, we need to build up more? That said, I don't know if like having a 3 to 6 month churn for the next 5 years, I don't know if that's a great move, right? Like, can we actually get longer term customers that are more, let's call them accounts, for lack of a better word, that at larger agencies you have an account that you're actually growing a year, and then year 2 you're getting a higher budget and all that stuff. With startups, the nature of how they bring stuff in-house, I don't know if that will ever happen.
You can do that with startups, in my opinion. Okay, let's be honest. When we go to an agency's website, what impresses us most? A couple of like startup logos, or when it has the Nike swoosh? Like, everyone wants to work with the companies that just have those brands. And for all we know, they did a 3-week project with Nike and got the ability to put that up there. It's perception. That's what gets those intros, right? So like, even if we keep this 3 to 6 month churn, if it's with big companies, I mean, our repertoire then is elite at that point.
It's really getting so much incoming business that it's not a problem. But even so, when you have that, like, basically keeping a customer, winning a customer is very expensive. Keeping a customer and growing that account is much less expensive. It's gonna be much easier after those first 3 to 6 months to grow that thing. So can we apply that to startups in some way. Maybe it's actually a different way of working with them. Maybe it's, hey, this offering isn't even right. Maybe we have something else we can offer them. Like, they're a customer. What else can we sell them that's valuable? Basically, I started the company in July 2012, right? So if we get through June, technically then it would be I've been in business for 5 years total. So I decided just now, said fuck it, booking the whole trip, and I think I'm going to take the entire week and go to Miami. And I also wanted to get away anyways because there's been over the last couple of days, some rocky stuff going on, and I needed to get away. And then when I looked at the calendar, I realized it's 5 months. I decided to book a trip, and I'm gonna try really, really hard for the first time in 5 years to actually not work for a day. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna try. But that's the idea. Is at least one day while I'm there is to not work. I just need to do some deep thinking. Like, I've been in this business for 5 years. I need to really look back and analyze and do an assessment of like how I got here. I just haven't really reflected a lot. And also just saying like, hey, what am I doing that really I can tweak? You know, I know where I want to take this, but more in near term, like, you know, are there things I can do to shift things around to alleviate some of the stressors essentially, which is revenue can be very lumpy. You sign a client for 3 months or 6 months, and then they leave. Perhaps it's lowering our rates, so that you know, maybe they're still paying a small premium, but it's not enough to say, hey, this is ridiculous, we need to bring it in-house. You know, that's a question that I'm thinking about. Is that a game I want to play? Is that the route I want to go down? With that, I would need to really increase revenue, right? To make up, if there's lower margins, I need more revenue. I've been thinking about that for a bit now, actually. No, sorry. It's not even that though. I'm like concerned with like keeping the lights on and like making sure we have sales up. Like, those are things that like stress me out now.
Yeah,
what anyone else thinks about us right now.
I know, but I think that's the disconnect though, is because you don't think that the brand and the marketing has to do with keeping the lights on. Where I think it's everything. I think it's
we just hired someone that I was the one who said we need to hire a marketing person and said come in, and we just hired someone for this. What do you mean I don't think it's important? And I spent a shit ton of time on it. Like, I don't see how that correlates.
I wasn't saying you don't think it's important.
This 100%, this whole thing, the entire vision is that this is the crux of everything.
No, but when I understood, but when I said brand and marketing, you said I'm more worried about keeping the lights on, which created it put those two things at odds to me. I think about what Armand said a lot. I think about what Armand said a lot, which is like, when you meet someone out socially, like, and you tell them they ask you like what type of projects you work on. Like, you always name the two like top ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let me expand on that. So I want a premium brand. I actually love that, right? I guess the disconnect that I have, the stress, is because I have very good insight into the sales process and how that functions. So that's like, to me, I'm like, I love that. And the stress comes when you have to tie that to, you know, my job as sales and CEO. I have to make sure we bring in business, right? And so that's what actually always stresses me out, because like, that's my responsibility, right? So having that, I love that idea, but sometimes it's like, hey, in my head I'm like, fuck, if I could just lower the price, I could close this deal, right? And it's like, cool. And it's like, there's a tension there that I sometimes have, because it's like, and that leads to stress. And so it's like, hey, like, what do we want to do? Like, do I not take this deal because like we're keeping the premium brand and we're not going to lower it, or do I lower it to make sure like we're all good? And it's something I always tug between, right? And it's a constant on my mind. If I could have the best of both, it was like always premium, only this, right? Yeah, who wouldn't choose that? Really, I mean, the growth of the business is down to sales. You need to have revenue to grow the business. And when I can only spend 20 to 30 hours a week on sales, right, versus 40 to 60 or 80 hours a week just on sales, which, I mean, I'll never spend that much, but I don't know. I need to figure it out because we're hitting this ceiling where it gets stretched. Like we're hitting a ceiling of where I feel we're hitting it of where I was 2 years ago when we were at when I hit 2 million in revenue before. Now we're approaching that ceiling, and what happens is then it gets spread too thin, and then it starts depressing. Getting the right people in place and the right systems in place and operations in place is something I haven't learned. No one teaches you this shit in school. Like I like when people are like, oh, so you have a business degree, so like that's where you learn how to do this. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Absolutely not. It's absolutely insane. No one teaches you this kind of shit.